It's time for Deuce to roam. Six weeks is a long time for a Nomad to stay in one place. And for me, it's about the most I ever stay anywhere. But I have a really awesome friend who let me moochdock on his 10 acres, told me I could stay as long as I want. So that gave me the time to get my affairs in order and change my residency back to Michigan from Nevada. Also allowed me to get my health insurance taken care of and change over my bank accounts. And then I was getting ready to leave a few weeks ago, and I realized all my credit cards were going to expire in July. And I don't plan on being back in Michigan until probably end of September, early October. But, you know, it was an awesome stay. I'll tell you that. Had everything I needed to boondock. You know, I didn't have any shore power to my camper, but we could have ran an extension cord if we wanted, but I don't need to. You know, I was able to fill water there. I was able to even dump my cassette toilet into his septic tank. There's chickens on the property. There's ducks, baby chickens. Just a lot of fun, and got to hang out with my friend for most of the time because he travels a lot for work. He was probably only there about 3 of the 6 weeks I was there. But other than that, it was really awesome. It's quite the property. It's like one of those properties, it's your land, you can do whatever you want. It just felt like home for a while. But, you know, after weeks go by, for me, you know, I slowly start to feel a little bit like I was in my previous life. Even though I was still staying in my camper, but I had everything I needed on this property. And then it almost felt like you're doing the same routines all the time. Why I chose this life to begin with was to be able to get away from that and live in an unconventional way. So it's Deuce roams, right? It's not Deuce parks. And we're back on the road right now looking to start an adventure. Haven't decided exactly where I'm going, but I'm definitely heading west towards Lake Michigan, hoping to get some nice sunsets and just really enjoy the vibe out there. I don't know, either South Haven, Holland, somewhere out there. Maybe even make my way up to Manistee and then possibly even Sleeping Bear. We'll play it by ear. I had probably about 80% charge by the time I left, and I'm going to stop at a charging station in Lansing just to make sure I have enough juice to get there, and then also check on the rig to make sure coming out of the private road was running pretty bad. Make sure I didn't damage anything, because I have a little bit of a new setup that I did inside of my camper. This will be my first time traveling with some of the things that I have in there and the way I have it packed up. We'll stop at the charging station, we'll get charged up, take a bathroom break, check on the rig, and then get back on the road. All right, we're just getting to Lansing right now. We'll be at the charging station in just a moment.
Your destination is on the right.
Well, we got here and there's a trailer lane, so I'm going to plug in. So the charging stop was pretty short. It was maybe like 15 minutes tops. After I plugged in, I just quickly went to PlugShare to look and see in the Holland area and South Haven area if there's any other like Tesla fast chargers, whatnot. There is. So I don't need to be as concerned about how much range I arrive with. Although it's saying I will arrive with 74 miles. Left Lansing and I'm heading towards Holland, taking the back roads, definitely small town America routes I'm taking. Going back to, when we think about the way today's society is set up, we are all pre-programmed and conditioned to live life in a certain way. And if you start deviating from that, people think there's something wrong with you. And my personal belief is, you know, we are put on this earth to really make a contribution and just make the world a better place. And there's many ways to do that. If we all followed a script, we wouldn't even be human, right? If you think about that. We have a free mind for a reason, and there's more than one way to get to a destination. And trying to use that as a metaphor, like that destination is not just like a physical location, like heading to Lake Michigan. You know, it's also like where you want to be in life. Where I want to be in life is I did not want to be behind a desk. I didn't want to be handcuffed to a 9-to-5, which was actually, for me, was way more than a 9-to-5 as far as how much time I put into my career. And I realize that life is short. And I feel that everyone forgets about that because life is so fast-paced, because you're doing everything that you're being pre-programmed to do, that you don't even have a chance to step back and question, why do I have to do this? Because you're not going to be able to retire if you don't have $1 million in the bank by the time you're 62. Well, do you want to have $1 million at 62 and then not have your health? The difference between the age 50 and 62 and your health it's a lot. Like from 40 to 50, it's a lot. So every decade that passes by, you're losing health. Like a lot of people I know that, they get in better shape and things like that. But I'm just saying, like when, just think about a car. The older the car is, it's going to break down. Like same with humans, like you start getting heart disease, cancer, anything can happen, right? So when you start thinking about how can I possibly live my life to the fullest if I'm pretty much always at one location, which would be a house, right? So that's why I really struggle with staying in one place for more than 6 weeks. Like 6 weeks is like the max. Even when I'm in Quartzsite, I'll move from Quartzsite to Yuma, and then I'll stay in Yuma for 6 weeks, and then I'll go to Lake Havasu because I cannot sit still for that long. Hence, that's why Deuce roams. I roam, like I want to go on adventures. I want to see new places. I want to experience new things. I love trying new things. But, sitting back on the 10 acres for those 6 weeks, it did allow me to go through and kind of figure out what I want to do in the next couple years. Because I'm an engineer by trade, at least, like retired now. But as far as I would always have like a roadmap of like what we want to accomplish on a project and how we could scale. So I'm still looking like that. It's like, how do I get from today to the age 62 where I can collect Social Security? And I may not even collect at 62, but that's like the minimum. And then live off of my savings and investments until that time to kind of like bridge the gap. That's what I'm doing. And I know, well, that's not what most people should do based on what we're taught. But I'm not even guaranteed that I'll be here at age 62. And if I am, I have heart disease. I've had procedures. Anything could happen. I may not even be in the physical condition where I can go on the hikes and adventures that I want to go on, and it might be relegated to more of just lounging or, like sitting on a chair or something. I don't know, who knows? Like, that's not what I want to do. So I control my own life and what I want to do, and I'm basically pushing back that anything's possible. You just got to figure out what the right solution is for whatever problem it is you're trying to solve that fits you. Because how I'm living my life as a nomad, it's not the same that everyone would choose. Maybe some would fit similar, but maybe they want a bigger rig or whatnot. But like, you got to figure out what works best for you and then just go with it. The important thing for me is like, I actually set a date and said, hey, this time next year, I'm going to leave my job and I'm going to travel. I'm going to give myself 3 years to experience that. And if it doesn't work out, I'll just go back to work. And I don't need to have the same pay level and career level that I had before. I don't need to be a senior manager or a director. If I ever do have to go back to work at this point in my life, I'm more than happy working at a hardware store or a supermarket or something like that, and just making whatever minimum wage is, because I don't really need much more than that. That's how simple this life has been for me. So I'm kind of like just talking about this because that's the reason I started this life. And then at the 6 week mark is kind of like when it kind of like nudges you, okay, like you've kind of like gone through some ideas and things that you want to do, and now it's okay for you to go back on the road. So I got everything I need taken care of. I got all the logistics taken care of. I got my affairs in order. I got to spend time with my family and friends. And if you're still watching this video and you're curious about this lifestyle, hit that subscribe button, because there's so many things that you kind of prepare yourself for, and it's almost like a waste of time. Now, not a complete waste of time. It's good to have education and knowledge, but you can't possibly prepare for every single scenario that comes with this lifestyle. And that was one of the first things that I learned. Like, I did all the research, I budgeted, and it's like the same thing like when you go to college. you take classes, you're doing homework assignments, you're writing essays, you're doing special projects, but none of that matters until you actually land a job and get out in the field and start gaining experience. It's the same thing with starting a new lifestyle, like leaving your career behind and becoming a nomad. So that time on the 10 acres, like really re-emphasized like why I want to do that, and then how I'm evolving as a nomad too, as far as what do I want to accomplish, what do I care about, what's important to me, what do I want to see. I think freedom is the thing that's the number one for me. Being free and being able to do whatever I want without ever having to go back to a full-time career again is something that I'm very passionate about. And with that being said, I have a roadmap that really gets me to the point where when I hit 62, I have depleted a good portion of my savings and investments, but I've also have enough of a safety net put aside that if an emergency happens, if I had to buy a new vehicle or a major repair to my rig or something like that, and for some reason with Social Security I'm not able to collect enough, I'll be okay. And the thing with this lifestyle, what it costs me to live, I'm going to be able to save money on Social Security. Like, I've gone on the Social Security website. I know exactly what I'll be getting at age 62, assuming that I'm never going to work a job again. And it's comfortably more than what I need to live. And obviously inflation could change that a little bit, but like looking forward, there's other things on the table. Like, you know, I'm traveling in a Rivian R1T and my nuCamp Tab 320 that I had color matched because I love the color. And to provide some context too about the truck, I was one of the original manufacturing engineering leaders at Rivian, and my team and I built this truck. So it's very sentimental to me, but it doesn't mean that I'm always going to be driving that. It makes me laugh a little bit when someone will comment about the cost of my rig, because honestly, at this point in my life, it's not the cost of my rig. And you don't know how much I paid for it. I was an employee. Like, people make assumptions and they base everything on money, and that's probably the least important thing in life when you consider what truly matters. Obviously, you need money to live, unless you can forage and things like that, and you already have your land. But for the most part, you know, I don't know anyone that can survive without any cash. So I understand there's a value, but people place so much emphasis on that, so much, and then it distracts you, and you lose yourself along the way, and you forget what's really important. Like, when I was working, I didn't have time to think, like, because there was always something going on at work, there's something going on at home, my personal life, things like that. You know, I was raising 3 sons, there's a lot of things going on, I was always busy. And then when I stepped away and started traveling full time, I'm adventuring and things like that, but like when I have downtime or if I'm taking a day off, like, what am I going to do today? There was an adjustment period that you kind of need to go through when you, I guess, retire. I've learned that taking time like I just did, this 6-week reset, if you will, and getting everything in order is good to really ground yourself. And I'm not the high energy guy as much as I was before, although I can get excited, but it's just really good to be calm and just trust that the universe is providing for all of us in some way, shape, or form. As I'm driving, I'm kind of thinking it'd be nice to show you guys like what it's like to just sleep in a Walmart parking lot and just show you like what that part of this life looks like, because that's kind of like scary for people. You know, it's one thing for people to start out traveling to like go to a campground, and then it's another thing to go like disperse camping or boondocking. But then when you're sleeping in parking lots, some of them are busy, some of them are in not the greatest areas. They can be loud, noisy, a lot of traffic, people doing burnouts, people partying, loudspeakers in the middle of the night. It's a different experience, but it's also free. But yeah, if you're thinking about living this lifestyle, trust your spidey senses and then just go with your gut. If the vibes don't feel right, you know, find somewhere else to go. And I forgot the Pistons and Cavaliers are playing in game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals at 7. So I'm a big sports fan. So just because you're a nomad doesn't mean you can't still be a sports fan. I'm hoping to get set up at the Walmart, go inside, make sure it's okay to stay, then grab a few things, get back to my rig so I can turn the Starlink on and watch the Pistons beat the Cavs, I hope. Yeah, so we'll see if it's just me or if there's other travelers going to be here. I think semi-traffic sometimes stops here too, from what I saw online. All right, you can see I'm set up here at the Walmart. There's some moving trucks here, and then into the distance you can see there's another Class C. I'm gonna walk in now and just make sure it's okay. I went inside and they said no problem, just to park in the back like I expected. But I'm coming out and it looks like I have someone parked right next to me, one of the moving trucks. So I think I'm gonna move my rig and get closer to the back. So I'm in my camper watching the Pistons-Cavs game. The Pistons are up 16 after the first quarter, so that's awesome. So I'm just gonna crack a Yingling 250th US anniversary edition beer and enjoy the game. And hopefully my Pistons win, and I'll see you guys in the morning. Good morning. So I slept all night at the Walmart. I watched the Pistons win, watched a movie, went to sleep. It was pretty quiet after 11 p.m. Got up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, and there were some loud trucks coming by, but overall it was pretty good. So this is what it's like to overnight in a Walmart parking lot. Now it's time for me to wake up and start my day and figure out where the next adventure is taking me. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit subscribe, and remember to roam free, explore more, and keep spreading those good vibes, everyone. Peace.